Distinguished leaders of nations, representatives of international organizations, members of the press, brothers and sisters across Africa and the world, I stand before you today as the humble servant of the people of Burkina Faso, entrusted with the sacred duty of defending our sovereignty, protecting our dignity, and upholding the principles that define our nation's existence: justice, independence, and the unyielding pursuit of freedom. Recent days have witnessed decisions by the United States government, under the leadership of President Donald Trump, to impose sanctions and travel bans targeting me personally, as well as restrictions on trade and cooperation with my country. These decisions have been justified under the pretext of political disagreements and mischaracterized statements, yet in truth, they reflect a deeper issue: the refusal of a powerful nation to accept that Africa has awakened, that we will no longer be dictated to, and that we will stand tall among equals. Sovereignty is not a gift granted by powerful nations. It is the natural right of every people to govern themselves, to shape their destiny, and to determine their alliances in accordance with their interests and values. The people of Burkina Faso, through sacrifice and struggle, have earned this right. No decree from abroad can revoke it. When I assumed leadership in this period of transition, it was not to challenge or provoke any nation, but to restore the dignity of our people, and to rebuild a country long ignored, exploited, and humiliated by systems that favor dependency over self-reliance. The imposition of sanctions upon us is not merely an attack on our government, it is an attack on the very principle that a small African nation can choose its own path. It is a declaration that those who think differently from Washington must be punished. This is not diplomacy. This is domination disguised as moral concern. President Trump has accused me of making statements against America and in favor of protesters within his own country. Let me make this clear before the eyes of the international community. Burkina Faso has never and will never interfere in the internal affairs of another state. However, as a leader committed to freedom and justice, I cannot remain silent when the values we all claim to defend, democracy, human rights, and equality, are trampled even in the nations that preach them most loudly. If speaking for justice, for the right of people to be heard peacefully, is considered an offense, then I accept that accusation with honor. I would rather stand accused for speaking truth than be praised for remaining silent before injustice. Sanctions are the weapon of the powerful against the vulnerable. They are justified in the name of democracy, yet they undermine democracy itself by punishing entire populations. Let us speak truthfully. These measures do not weaken Ibrahim Traoré. They attempt to weaken the Burkinabe people, to isolate us economically, to intimidate our partners, and to deter our independence. But what the authors of these measures fail to understand is that Burkina Faso has endured greater hardships and survived them all. We have known famine, we have known invasion, we have known betrayal, yet our spirit has never been broken. The same resilience that saw us through our struggles for liberation will carry us through this moment as well. To the people of the United States, I say this: we bear you no ill will. Our quarrel is not with you, but with those who use power to suppress rather than to uplift. America was once admired for its ideals: freedom, equality, opportunity. Yet under leaders who see the world only through the lens of domination and fear, these ideals are being eroded from within. When a government silences dissent, when it brands every critic an enemy, when it punishes nations for refusing to obey, that government ceases to represent liberty and begins to represent tyranny. President Trump may call himself a patriot, but the world sees a man who has turned patriotism into personal ambition, who divides his own people while pretending to defend them. The protests and unrest within the United States today are not caused by foreign influence. They are born of internal contradictions, inequality, racism, and economic despair. No sanction against Burkina Faso will resolve those problems. It is not I who should be called a dictator, but those who rule through fear, silence the press, and insult nations who refuse to kneel. For too long, Africa has been treated as a continent of resources, not of people, a market to exploit, not a partner to respect. These sanctions are a reminder of that mentality. But we are no longer the Africa of yesterday. The youth of our continent are educated, conscious, and proud. We no longer accept that the wealth of Africa should build the towers of New York while our villages remain without schools. I call upon my brothers and sisters in Africa, from Dakar to Addis Ababa, from Pretoria to Cairo, to see in this moment not an attack on Burkina Faso alone, but on African independence itself. If one of us is punished for daring to think freely, then all of us are threatened. Let us respond not with anger but with unity. Let us trade among ourselves, build our industries, and rely on our own strength. We do not reject cooperation with others, but it must be cooperation among equals, not master and servant, not donor and recipient, but partners bound by mutual respect. The sanctions imposed by the United States will undoubtedly create challenges, yet every challenge is an opportunity for reinvention. Burkina Faso will strengthen its cooperation with nations that respect our sovereignty, including partners in Africa, Asia, Latin America, and Europe, who believe in fair trade and mutual benefit. We are already exploring strategic partnerships with the African Continental Free Trade Area, with BRICS nations, and with regional organizations committed to economic self-reliance. Let the United States close its doors if it wishes. The world is not limited to one gate. The 21st century belongs to those who build bridges, not walls. We will invest in our agriculture, our mining, our education, and our technology. We will encourage our youth to innovate, rather than to emigrate. And we will never again allow our national agenda to be written in a foreign capital. True diplomacy is based on respect. Respect for difference, for culture, for the right of nations to choose their own paths. Burkina Faso has never sanctioned another country. We have never imposed our beliefs on others. We have sought friendship with all, and enmity with none. If a superpower believes it can threaten us into submission, it misunderstands the spirit of our revolution. The harder one tries to bend us, the straighter we will stand. To the United Nations, to the African Union, and to all global institutions, I appeal for fairness. The world must move beyond the politics of intimidation. The principle of equality among nations, large or small, must be defended, or it will vanish altogether. Every generation faces a test of conscience. Ours is to decide whether the world will be ruled by fear or by fairness. The use of economic sanctions to coerce independent states is a moral failure. It denies the very foundation of the international order built after the Second World War, the idea that dialogue, not domination, should govern relations among nations. Let us remember, justice is not a privilege reserved for the powerful. Justice must also belong to the weak, the poor, and the unheard. History teaches us that every empire that believed itself eternal has fallen. The arrogance of power is always punished by time. Let those who think they can isolate Africa remember this truth. To my people I say this from the bottom of my heart: remain calm, remain strong, and remain united. These sanctions are not a sign of our weakness, they are proof of our strength. When a small nation causes discomfort to a superpower simply by standing on principle, it means that our voice carries weight. Let us transform this challenge into an opportunity for national renewal. Let us support our farmers, our soldiers, our teachers, and our entrepreneurs. Let us buy Burkinabe, build Burkinabe, and believe Burkinabe. We will emerge from this moment more self-reliant than ever before. I appeal today to all nations, not only in Africa, but across the world, to defend the principles of multilateralism and non-interference. Let us build a world where disagreement is met with dialogue, not punishment, where diversity is celebrated, not condemned, where sovereignty is sacred, not negotiable. The world cannot afford another age of unilateralism. We have seen the wars it breeds, the divisions it creates, and the suffering it multiplies. Let us choose cooperation over coercion, fairness over fear, and peace over pride. The storm of sanctions may rage today, but storms always pass. What endures is character, conviction, and the courage to do what is right. I say to the international community, Burkina Faso will remain open to friendship, but firm in principle. We seek peace, but we will never trade our dignity for acceptance. And to those who think they can define us through punishment, remember this: you can ban our leaders, but not our ideals. You can block our trade, but not our spirit. You can isolate us on paper, but never in the hearts of free men and women across the world who know justice when they see it. In conclusion, I reaffirm Burkina Faso's commitment to international cooperation, regional stability, and the shared pursuit of prosperity. We will continue to stand for justice, equality, and mutual respect among all nations. Let this moment not be remembered as one of confrontation, but as the beginning of a new era, an era in which Africa speaks with one voice, and that voice is heard. To President Trump and his administration, I say respectfully, you may have the means to sanction, but we have the moral strength to endure. You may hold the power of might, but we hold the power of right. History will judge which is stronger. Long live Burkina Faso. Long live Africa. Long live the fraternity of free nations.